Meeting for June for Wise County School Board. When I come to order, please let us stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you, and please be seated. And Ms. Durham, would you please honor us with a roll call?
Yeah. Ms. Williams? Here. Ms. Jett?
Here.
Mr. Short?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Ms. Kern?
Here.
Dr. Raymond?
Here.
Mr. Bates?
Here.
Mr. Greer?
Here. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as presented, let it be known by aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries, and the agenda is approved. Dr. Mullins, school highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, I wanted just to take a moment tonight to share with you that our graduation ceremonies, while not 100% back to normal, they were beautiful. Our graduates seemed to be so appreciative of the opportunity to be back in a setting where they could share the moment with their classmates and a number of their family and friends. We certainly look forward to returning to the ceremonies that we're all accustomed to, that we can all once again attend, and we certainly want to wish our graduates all the very best as they move forward. We've asked a lot of our graduates for the past 15 months or so. They have met every challenge, and certainly there have been a number of them, and they bravely made it work. And ended their careers here on a high note. And of course, these experiences, while somewhat unprecedented, we hope will help strengthen their resolve as they move out into the world of work and school. And at some point, they will look back and be amazed at how they and their classmates worked their way through a very challenging situation. And so we wish them the very best. Also tonight, Mr. Chair, members of the board, we are very excited to have with us the Executive Director of the Region 7 Virtual Academy, Ms. Caitlin Casme, who is going to share an overview with you of update on any recent developments and answer any questions you may have. So, Caitlin.
Chairman Greer, members of the board, Dr. Mullins, thank you for having me. I'm going to jump into a presentation. It's designed to I'm not sure what your level of understanding with the Virtual Academy is, so it's designed to hit those highlights and kind of go into what it looks like, how it's evolved, what it looks like now. That way we're all on the same page, and then I'm happy to answer any questions that you have following the presentation. So, Mr. Kaiser, I'm just going to ask you to click through. There we go. Thank you. So, first and foremost, necessity is the mother of invention. The Academy began because we had to have something to keep our teachers from having this dual method of instruction next year. And so the Region 7 superintendents kind of came together. What can we do? They brainstormed, and thus the Region 7 Virtual Academy was born. Currently, it is 17 of 19 participating divisions. So 17 of our divisions in Region 7 are participating in the Regional Academy. There's only 2 that this year opted not to participate. Next year, they can reevaluate if they choose to do so. Why do we do a virtual academy? Why couldn't, Wise County just partner with a virtual provider on their own? Well, first and foremost, there's strength in numbers. There's better pricing from our providers was one of the initial, proponents for this. Secondary is a liaison between the providers and the school. We did not want more work on our school, and thus the academy provides an in-between for the two entities. an infrastructure in place for future options. We have opened the door in the creation of a regional virtual academy for things that happened this past year that were unprecedented, to cover ourselves in that, but also let's enrichment, right? Let's do some career readiness. Let's do STEM. There are some opportunities there that having this in place prior really helps us for in the long run. Lastly, and perhaps maybe the most important, is poaching protections. This coming together as a regional academy gave us some bargaining chip with our providers, and it will not allow another school division to take a Wise County student, which was happening last year. It did happen when students dropped in either homeschooled and went with a virtual provider. They were going to be enrolled with another school division of residents. That school division can then take the ADM for that student. Lastly, it's created in response to things that we saw happen, right? Loss of enrollment was inevitable during the COVID year, and we saw it. Teachers managing dual instruction, that's first and foremost what we wanted to avoid, and equity of access and options. Northern Virginia has been offering some virtual opportunities for years. They've been able to take Mandarin Chinese, things that we couldn't staff, for example, and that really allows that to happen. So onto curriculum instruction. Divisions have flexibility, and that's an important thing to note about the academy. Wise County is not enrolling their students with the Region Virtual Academy. Wise County is enrolling their students with Wise County, a huge perk of this situation. They have flexibility to choose their eligibility requirements, their registration process, their registration deadlines, who they want to partner with for their instruction. And so as we look at this, they had a couple different options. 2 Virginia-approved multi-divisional online providers, which is Edgenuity and Stride, as well as Virtual Virginia. You may be more familiar with Virtual Virginia. It's the Department of Ed's program that's been in place for years. You may have even enrolled students previously for a class or two. And the other 2 are more for that full term, all year long, we're doing virtual, that full year course load. Increased course offerings, that allows, we can now offer what those providers offer, but additionally, we have some bargaining chip. Again, we have gotten all of these providers to do their pacing with CIP, which is huge. They would not have done that for a single division, but when we have 17 on board for this regional academy, what we found was they will do anything to get our business. And so all 3 of those providers have aligned themselves and their pacing with CIP, which is huge. It goes right with all of our region work there. Enrollment and participation, some of the basics. The students are enrolled with Wise County. They are not enrolled with the academy. That's very important because Wise County receives ADM for that student. Then a portion of that funding will go to pay the provider. We do not have to pay they do not take our full ADM. It is free for students and families. They're still in public school. They're in Wise County, to be, I guess, specific. And there's a couple things to think about. Eligibility criteria. Dr. Mullins did a great job putting that in place. It is extensive. We do not want a student in a virtual setting who is not going to work. It is not the least restrictive environment for all students, to say the least, right? So if those students are not being successful, they're not progressing academically, we are not going to allow them to continue to be enrolled virtually, and that is very, very important. This is not an out for those who don't want to work. I want to emphasize that. If you are going to do virtual, you are going to do virtual and be successful in that environment. That kind of comes down to the attendance expectations. It's school. You're still required to attend, you're still required to work, and all of those things that are in place in the traditional school setting are mirrored in the virtual setting in the academy. Registration, Dr. Mullins, you might have to correct me on your deadline. I'm not sure what deadline you put.
Actually, May 14th.
Okay, so very good. Registration in place for students who are interested in this option next year. They can register, and then if they meet eligibility requirements, we move forward with getting them enrolled. We do have a website to learn more, r7va.org. It now has specific school information, so that information for registration is available on that website, as well as some frequently asked questions, information about virtual board meetings, and et cetera. This is a quick, I've touched on this, but I do want to mention Region 7's kind of leading the way. They're trailblazing in this particular endeavor. There's no other virtual regional academy in the state. In fact, when we were doing board approval to become a special program, they had several questions. And I think that their questions were related to how did we not think of this first, to be honest with you. So we have received a designation as a special program. We are the first of our kind for the state of Virginia. And we've been contacted, actually I've been contacted this week by 2 other regions. How are you all doing this? We don't have an option next year. What are we going to do? And so they're really looking to us for kind of to see how we're doing on that. Last but not least, I'm currently your main contact. So if you have questions or have anything that you would like to say additionally, you're welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email, or I can answer your questions right now. But I'm happy to work with Wise County and happy to be here. So anything that you have, I'm happy to answer. I answered them all that quickly.
And speaking to a lot of the teachers of the last year, I guess, in fact, I like these old westerns. I watch them on TV all the time. But this Region 7 to me is kind of like the cavalry coming to the rescue. Teachers are so happy about that because it was really a tough task to do virtual and in-house instruction.
I was actually at a leadership meeting when they announced it to teachers, and they got a round of applause. so I think that you're right in that teachers are very happy that they are not going to be providing that dual method of instruction. And in the event we find ourselves in another crisis, we have something in place that can help us through that we don't have to start from scratch again. It's already there, and we work with those partnerships that we have.
Other questions from the board?
Is the eligibility going to be determined by each individual schools or by the school district?
Good question.
Like Wise
Correct
County?
me if I'm wrong, but it is a Wise County eligibility criteria and not by school.
That's at the division level.
Right. I think it's important to note, I come from an administrative position, and so I'm very well aware of the fact that we had students in the virtual setting that did not complete work. And that is the last thing that we want in this environment. I can tell you I did many, many home visits. I tried every way in the world to get those students to work, and at the end of the day, that didn't happen. So those are not the students we're enrolling. Those students need to be back to in-person learning. They have a deficit we need to catch up on, and we're working for those students where this did work for them. They were successful in this environment. They did learn and complete all their activities, and that's what we're really looking for. That maybe makes me the bad guy in a couple weeks, but that's okay. I can take it. Okay. Unless you have anything, feel free to email me or call me. I'd be happy to answer. I am a 12-month employee, so I'm here all summer. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Caitlin, and I can share with you, with all of you, that Caitlin, when she was hired into this position, she assumed this role, and I really believe that this is going to be a very positive, very impactful program for our students. And again, we want all of our children to engage. And, you know, for some, that's going to be best sitting in front of our teachers. We know that we have teachers that can provide world-class education. And if we can get those students in front of our teachers, then that's going to be a great place for them. But for those individuals that in-person is not really an option at this time, we want to have a very robust program there, and we do. But again, as Caitlin pointed out, it's not a place to come and not do work. You know, there's going to be requirements in place, and we want them to achieve. We want it to be rigorous, and we want them to learn. And so we're excited to be part of this, and certainly excited to have Caitlin be our director, because I think she's going to do an outstanding job.
Appreciate that. I'll also say there is a learning curve. It's a brand new, we built this thing from scratch. It literally came from the ideas of our regional superintendents. And I think there will be a learning curve, some things that we have, some hoops we have to jump through. But I don't think it's anything we can't handle. It's just a matter of this year being that year to figure things out.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, as you are aware, the coaches of these next two groups are also coaches of our school forensics team at these schools. And the forensics teams at these two schools are powerhouses, and so when they recently won another VHSL state championship in forensics, I went to great lengths to try to find the words to describe their programs. And now that they are back with us again, I'm not even going to try to find any new words. I'm simply going to let their accomplishments speak for themselves. The Eastside One Act Group, and I think I'm correct, but Mr. Burke can correct me if I'm wrong, has earned the title of VHSL State One Act Play State Champions 2014-15, 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, 20, and 21. For 7 consecutive years, this program has set the standard on the Virginia High School Theater. And so, again, being at a loss for words, I'm just going to ask Mr. Burke to come forward and share this year's journey with us. Mr. Burke.
Thank you very much. We certainly are proud, and if you'll indulge me, I'll brag a little bit, because as they can tell you, I don't very often. But they took a really bad situation and made it excellent, as always. Everything was pre-recorded this year, just much like forensics. We had to record. We were given a specific time frame in which to do that, and we submitted it to a panel of judges. And that was difficult, because things just don't translate on a screen as they do in person. So we had that extra layer. Not only did we have to prepare it, but we had to look at it on a screen and decide what translated. So that was really difficult. One of our state judges said during critiques, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was that she wished every team in Virginia could have watched our play this year to see the kind of detail that these young men and women put into their work. And that meant more than anything I've ever heard from a judge, because it's not a secret that from Roanoke down, we're kind of forgotten. But for these young people to bring that kind of positive attention to our school division, which is a small little dot on Virginia, means so much. I would like to say that it's all me, but it's not. It's an exceptional group of kids. Additionally, we've never received the Wells Fargo Cup, and I just received news yesterday that we did this year for the first time. So that was another wonderful accomplishment. With that, I'll just take you through our season really quickly. At our first level of competition, we got straight ones from our judges. The following individuals, and you can please stand and hold your applause until the end of all this. The following individuals received acting awards: Olivia Adkins, Sarah Burke, Malik Jallo, and Hadassah White. At our second level competition, the following received acting awards: Olivia Adkins, Dallas Mead, and Hadassah White. At our state competition, they received 3 out of 4 acting awards: Olivia Adkins, Sarah Burke, and Dallas Mead. And honorable mentions went to from the whole season went to Caitlin Shepard, Kylie Harmon, Katie Levy, and Chloe Bailey. They received first place rankings from every judge, all 12 this year. I would like to read through the team, even if the students aren't here. Senior Olivia Adkins, Senior Chloe Bailey, Taylor Banks, Senior Sarah Burke, Senior Colby Farmer, Cadence Fuller, Cassidy Funk, Mikey Farmer, Kylie Harmon, Jasmine Harvey, Haley Hill, Malik Jallo, Madison Kaiser, Senior Katie Levy, Senior Caitlin Main, Senior Dallas Mead, keep saying that word, Senior Jesus Rhea, Caitlin Shepard, Senior JT Tankersley, I shouldn't say senior, I should say graduated, and Senior Hadassah White. That was our team this year, and I said that word senior a lot, so this one was particularly difficult to deal with this year. But I know you guys are as proud of us as I am of them, so thank you very much.
Probably two lines, one on the stage, one out front. How do you guys want to put that together?
It's looking pretty good. Let's get you guys, there we go. Let's fill in the middle. We'll flank with Mr. Burke and Dr. Mullins. We'll get the students inside of you there, Mr. Burke. Care to step out? I think that looks great. You can stay down there, Dr. Mullins. You all are fine right there. Everybody can look at me. Smile even with the mask on. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you for your accomplishment, and thank you for coming up tonight. We appreciate you.
Ms. Thompson, due to you and your group not being in here just a moment ago, I'm going to share again with our audience what I shared before we brought Mr. Burke and his group in. I shared with them that you, as well as Mr. Burke, are also coaches of the forensic team, and your forensics teams are perennial powerhouses. And so when you were here and we celebrated your state championship in forensics, I told you that night that I had searched long and hard to find the words to try to describe your program, and I did, and I used those words that particular night, so I have none left. I'm just simply going to allow their results speak for themselves. And Ms. Thompson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Central High School one-act team has earned the title of VHSL State One-Act Play Champions 2012-13, 2015-16, 2016-17, 2019-20, and 2020-21. During this short span of time, this group, this program, this school has earned 5 state championship titles. And again, I don't have the words. Anything I could share would be inadequate to describe this commitment to excellence, so I'm just going to ask Coach Thompson to come forward and share a little bit about this team's particular journey.
Thank you all. I believe it's on.
Just take it off.
Okay. Thank you all for inviting us to come. We have a few members that when summer came, they left and went to the beach, and so we said, okay. But thanks for recognizing us. As I'm sure that you all know and have heard, and maybe Mr. Burke even said, this was kind of like the craziest season, and nothing like this year was normal. But theater is meant to be shared with people. There's a story, and there's a purpose, and there's a reason, and you want to emote something from the people that receive your play. So they were asked to do a play. We had the option of not doing it at all. That was also the thing. Virginia High School League was trying to decide what to do, and so once they finally decided, we were doing forensics and one act at the same time. As a matter of fact, when we were here that Tuesday night for recognition, we were waiting to find out the results for one act on that Friday night. So anyway, we decided to do it, and there were a couple of hard parts, but the hardest thing we realized was that we have no idea if we're good or not. We were playing to an empty auditorium, and it was just me, and you had to do the videos and send the videos in every time. So that was one of the harder parts. And then just trying to figure out how to do it, because when we started, we were kind of on lockdown, and then little by little we got out, and so you could wear masks. Whatever your school division said you did, that's what they had to do. So that changed up a little bit as we went along. So there was a lot of changes. There were a lot of good things about it. We could we didn't have to haul a set all the way wherever we were going for competing. So that was the good thing about it. But the fact of the matter is, these kids, there are 15 of them, and we figured it out. We did a play called When She Had Wings by Susan Zeter, and it's a pretty renowned author, and I've had it sitting on my desk for a long time, but it doesn't give much direction on what to do. It's kind of a fantasy play, a little girl who's 9 years old, and before she turns 10, she knows she used to be able to fly. And so by the time she turns 10, she wants to fly. And it's not about flying at all, although there's a lot of flying in there, but it's about the more things that come on you and the more weigh you down, and you forget how to fly, and you know parts of it, but we just get so bogged down. So to me, it seemed perfect for COVID, for a play during COVID. It was it was a lot out of our genre. It's like not what we do. It's fantasy and crazy, and but anyway, we figured it out and we won. And we didn't know either time. We were waiting the results, and when we were sitting there, we had no idea. We didn't know what any other plays. We're not allowed to see them because it's all the copyrights and the streaming rights and all the money that you had to pay to even do it. So it was a little bit of a different year, but they were victorious, and I'm very proud of them. It was, again, we had graduated a lot of people, and we didn't kind of have a feeder program that was working for whatever, and so we pulled some 8th graders in and went with it, and it was great. We had our moments, but it was good. So anyway, I'll tell you the team, and then some of their accolades. In one act, you have districts, regions, and state. So we were first in all districts, regions, and state. We got first place all the way through. And then they give 4 acting awards at each level, and each judge has there are 4 judges, and each judge have numbers or amounts to do. So at district, we had Maria Boggs, who's with us. Maria was one of the winners of the 4, and Drake Sutphin and Emma Stallard, thank you. Emma Stallard, they're not here tonight, but they were at district. And at region, it was top acting awards of the 4 was Maria Boggs and Drake Sutphin. And then when we got to state, the state level, and that's all the plays in the state, Maria Boggs took top acting award at state. So real proud of Maria. And the whole team. So I will announce the team. If you all will just stand. Caleb Adams. Caleb wrote an original piano score for our play, and it was fabulous. Keely Bailey. Keely had never run the sound or the lights, and so she got thrown back into that, and we had some interesting things happen, including lightning and all kinds of things, but she did a great job. Zoe Barker. Maria Boggs, Sr. Jalen Bowman. Jessica Cook is out tonight. Ava Elkins, sixth grade. 8th grade. I need to put my glasses back on. Reese Elkins. Emily Hall. Emily was also in the booth, the sound booth. Emily Jett, who's not here. Andrew Mullins, 8th grade. Emma Stallard's working. Drake Sutphin is out. Alex Spencer, not here. And Lauren White, not here. And the last thing I would like to say about this team, we just found this out, I think I just found out yesterday. And most of these have no idea what it even means. But the Virginia High School League gives, for each class, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the Wachovia Cup. And that is for academics. There's 10 categories, and we're considered an academic team. Forensics, Scholastic Bowl, yearbook, broadcasting, all those things. So Central High School just won the Wachovia Cup for our 2 things that we did. So they don't even know, and they don't even know what that means yet, but we'll talk to them about it. So thank you all so much for supporting us and always saying nice things and keeping us coming out here. We'll do the best we can to keep coming.
Let's get a picture of this. Maybe have a line up on the stage and then one right here in front. Two lines.
By now, most of you know the drill. That's great. Actually, slide on a little bit more towards Dr. Mullins. A little more. I'm bringing Reese right to the center. Come on over. On over, guys. Right there, Reese is in a good spot, so if everybody will fit in with him. That's looking great. All right, folks, if you'll look right here. All right, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's always our pleasure to acknowledge your accomplishments.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I was going to share with you, and Mr. Burke and Ms. Thompson already pointed it out. I want to think that it's now called the Wells Fargo Cup, but it's awarded each year to one school in each classification, 1 through 6. And it is based on points accumulated in those various activities. And this is Central's 4th time winning this award, but it's Eastside's very first. They've been very close on more than one occasion, but this year they broke through and won it for the first time, and so we congratulate them on those honors as well. Also wanted to mention to you tonight that, of course, we had the Union High School state cross-country champions up here last year to be recognized for their historic victory, and they wanted me to share with you the plaque that we will be prominently displaying on our hallway of fame over at Central Office. And I told them that I would share that with you, and anytime you're in our office, make sure that you walk down the hallway. We've got the schools kind of together, their various accomplishments, and so I did tell them I'd share that with you tonight and let them know that we're going to proudly display this in our hallway of fame. So, and I will, and you guys can stop by and look at it maybe as we pass by. That is all of the school highlights we have this evening, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, consent items. Item 6 on our agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent items as presented? Okay, Martha. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of approving the consent items as presented to us, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 7, are there any additions, deletions, or changes to be made to the minutes of the last meeting? And then this refers to the meeting on May the 11th. Okay, then hearing no changes, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Was that Martha? Okay. Those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, let it be known by aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's go to number 8, educational reports. Dr. Mullins.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we have Mr. Paul Clark with us tonight, who will share news and comments from the WCEA. Mr. Clark.
Good evening. Hopefully spring will be over soon and we'll enjoy summer. I know all the teachers are either working somewhere or doing summer school or recouping from this previous year. And we're all like you, waiting for the governor to change things and hopefully go back to a year that's what we knew as normal and forget the past that we just experienced. Before I go on with WCA meeting, I was talking to Kathy, the white children, the girls, and their family are also in our trail family at Trail Lonesome Pine. So if you didn't get an opportunity to see them perform, since it's Hadassah's last year, you may want to come see her be June Taylor and the Trail of Lonesome Pine, and it's going to be limited until the governor expands, so seating will be limited. It's a whole new twist on how we have to do Trail of Lonesome Pine this year because of COVID things. And if you're a fan of Trail of Lonesome Pine, you'll go back and you'll go, this is a whole new experience from the tradition. It's still the same traditional story with a lot of twists in it that are different. But back to the teacher thing. Mainly, teachers are concerned with things getting back to normal and just waiting to see if, raises and all the bonuses and things that you talked about last month with the increase in the step. And I think everybody's just wanting to forget about the past. And I know you all are working hard, and a lot of changes happening in our county. And, each day we hear things like the governor saying you can go outside and you can't be outside and you can't be on a playground. And we're just waiting for a final in August, and hopefully everything will go back to the way we used to have things work. And because we all know that children learn from each other and not from a distance. They can do that on the computer anytime they want to and watch it on TV. That's not teaching your children. So have a good summer, and hopefully things will be good. That's all we hope for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it all for educational reports, Dr. Mullins?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Item 9, we'll now open the floor for public comments. Seeing no one, public comments is now closed. Item 10, discussion. And there's no response to public comment from the last meeting, okay? And 10.2, budget amendments for the 2021 school year. Dr. Mullins.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, at this time, I will ask Dr. Shoup to share with you some adjustments that we will be required to make to our budget based on the CARES and ESSER and ARP funding allocations. Dr. Shoup.
Thank you. You had this handout before, and that just listed all the different categories for our ESSER funds, broke them down for you, the cleaning supplies, the facilities upgrade, the Wi-Fi, summer activities, summer school, then the big CARES, that was the 1.8 million, ESSER for special education, 24,600, and then the CRF funds was the 916,000 that we provided the hazard pay to the employees with. That was our revenue stream, and we had to modify our budget for those expenditures. So we have an amended school operations budget. You'll see on page 1 the original amount and the amended amount. It was almost all spent in instruction, which was the hazard pay, and then we had a $500,000 increase in operations and maintenance. That was all your cleaning supplies and such. And then the technology was $500,000 extra to make sure that all the schools had the technology needs. So that brought our operations budget up to 67.3 million. And then on page 2, we amended capital outlay. We're asking to amend capital outlay by increasing the other federal funds category by $500,000. This is not local. None of this is local funds. It's all due to the CARES Act. The 916,685 flow through the state, and the rest flows through federal. Questions?
I'm glad the revenues went up and not down.
You're not the only one.
Any questions from any member of the board concerning this amendment? No questions, because we'll be asked to approve it in action later on tonight. Okay, and hearing no questions concerning the budget amendments, let's go to 10.3. The return to learning plan, the ESSER 3 requirement. Dr. Mullins.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, of course, when we began school this fall, or prior to beginning our school year, we had to put together a rather extensive plan for how we would offer instruction and a number of things, transportation, cleaning, sanitation, during the pandemic. This particular return to learning plan is for the upcoming year, and there are several requirements that all school divisions have to adhere to in order to receive the ESSER 3 funding. One of these requirements is how we will meet CDC guidelines to reopen schools safely this fall. And you have a copy of that in, Ms. Durham provided you that before our meeting. And it's a very basic how we will approach various things when we return to this instruction this fall. Our staff worked together to put together a plan that address all the required areas. And Amber Salyers and Dr. Short put the document together for us. We posted a copy on our school social media site, on our website, asking for public comment. And we did receive a number of comments, most of them surrounding we don't think that masks, we need to wear masks this fall, those types of things. And what we've shared with anyone that had that particular kind of comment, we don't, perhaps we don't need to do this, maybe this. We're going to this is a working document, and anytime there is a change in guidance from the state, from the governor's office, or from the VDOE, then we will adjust our document accordingly. It's our hope that before we return to school, that we have a document that says we're going to go back to school with business as usual. That would be our ultimate plan, or I guess our ultimate hope and goal, is that we would come back to school with no restrictions. But as long as there remain restrictions, then certainly our document will reflect the current restrictions, current guidance at that given time. But as I say, anytime through the summer we get additional guidance, and we no longer have to do certain things, then we will reflect that in this document. But I just wanted to share that with you, and again, that's out there for public purview. And we did receive a lot of comments, many of them positive, some just asking questions about, will we be required to do this, continue to do this, and that type of thing. And so what we've shared with everyone is this will reflect the current documents in place, current guidance in place at that given time. Is there any questions regarding that? As I say, that is just based on what we currently have available to us, the information, and we will make adjustments as needed.
I think from what I've heard from the public is, you've already mentioned it, was the wearing of the masks when school we return in the fall.
We're hopeful that we will be without masks when we return in August. That's our hope and our desire.
That'd be a great thing.
Haven't at this point heard anything different.
Yeah, 'cause when the kids don't wear their masks, I mean, we can take ours off too, I think, so that'd be kind of nice. I still can't wear glasses and a mask at the same time for very long. Any other comments or questions from the board? Let's go, yes,
One
sir.
thing. So this says it's coming from the CDC. Is that just passed down to the Virginia Department of Health and then passed down to us, BDOE?
Yes,
and then us?
in the governor's, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, Dr. Raymond, in the governor's, a lot of restrictions have been lifted or at least adjusted. And there's one statement in there regarding while on school property, students, staff, visitors would be required to wear masks. Now, if we have outside activities, those students who have been vaccinated, or if we can maintain social distancing, we can take our mask off. But they ask while we're on the property, and certainly while we're inside, that we continue to wear a mask. That's the most current guidance we have.
Other questions? Okay, let's go to 10.4, the VRS resolution, and that's on page 47 of your packet.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the VRS has given employers the opportunity to positively impact some of our employee groups at little cost to our division. I'll ask Dr. Shoup to share the nuts and bolts of this opportunity with you at this time, but we think this is something that we could, as I say, really impact certain members of our team, and again, at very little cost to us. But Dr. Shoup, go ahead and share that information.
This resolution is an enhanced, the opportunity to elect an enhanced health insurance credit for their non-professional employees. That means custodial staff, cafeteria staff, maintenance, mechanics, pretty much everybody that's not classified a teacher or administrator goes into our 5 code, which is, they call it the non-professional group. Right now, currently, for the health insurance credit, and I'm sure you all are aware, the health insurance credit, the county pays into for the benefit of the employee, and upon full retirement, they receive, in the 5 code, they receive $1.50 a month for each completed year of service. Teachers receive $4 a month for each completed year of service. This new resolution, we already pay so that they can receive the $150. This enhanced health insurance credit resolution will pay our 5 code employees $2.50 a month for every year of service. So it's an extra dollar every month. And that health insurance credit goes toward their insurance premium only during retirement. There was previously a $45 cap on that, but there will no longer be that $45 cap, so someone with 30 years of service would receive $2.50 for every year of service versus the $150. The cost to the county is very minimal. It will raise our rate that we already pay from 0.53% to 0.88%. So it's still less than 1% of their salary. And, it's a 0.35% increase, and it will really, I think it will impact the employees that remain with us, throughout it will impact all of them that retire from Wise County in the 5 code, but it will positively impact those that spend 30 years with Wise County by raising that health insurance credit substantially, almost doubling what they get per month. It is, the resolution is irrevocable, so it's just like any of the other VRS plans. Once we go into that plan, we do not come out of it, but the health insurance credit does, in the years that I've been taking care of it, it's never increased very much, the cost of the county, just, a few, 0.03%, 0.05. Does anybody have any questions? I can kind of explain it, understand.
One of the things that I will share with you that we've talked about is there have been many years that we've really not been able to address compensation for these individuals in terms of rates of pay and hourly rates. And for those that choose to spend a huge portion of their life with us and have worked for us, especially during those years when we couldn't do a great deal to help them, we just feel like this is something that rewards them for giving a big chunk of their life to us, and that will help them once they leave us at little cost to us. That's sort of what we've talked about.
The only question I have is it may just be typographical error, but it looks like in the first whereas solution, it says credit of $1 per month for each full year. And then when you go down to number 1 and be it resolved, it says credit of $1 per year. It doesn't say $1 per month. That makes it different?
Yeah, I think it's the way, of course, they write with all VRS resolutions, they write them and send them straight to Judy and I. We don't write them, so this is the same resolution that everybody in the state of Virginia will adopt. But I will, we can clarify that with Zayanne. It is an additional $1 per year, so I would assume it's just the way that this is worded, because it goes from $1.50 and then adds an additional $1 to make it $2.50. So I would say
Okay.
that's what it means there, is just
Okay.
adding the extra $1 on top of the already $1.50 that's there.
Okay,
Yeah,
because up there it says an additional $1 per month, and then down here it just says $1 per year.
yeah, $1 per year, and I think Ms. Kern, it's where it says $1 per year of creditable service, but it really should say $1 per year of service per month.
It should say, they should be the same, to make it sound the same.
Yeah.
And it concerns me if you sign something that they're not both the same, that it might not be the same thing.
We can check with her,
I'd appreciate you doing that because they deserve that.
oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Other questions or concerns? Let's proceed to 10.5, EO 79 and beyond.
I've already touched on this, Mr. Chair, members of the board, when we were discussing our return to learning plan, but of course, the latest Executive Order 79 went into effect on May the 28th, and again, there were some lessened restrictions in regards to wearing masks in most sectors of the Commonwealth. But as I shared with you, all public and private K-12 schools are asked to continue to require that our students, staff, and visitors wear a mask over their mouth and nose while on school property. And as I shared, there is some flexibility that they can be removed when they're in outdoor settings. Of course, the exemptions continue to be in place for eating and drinking, exercising, playing an instrument, when social distancing can be maintained. And we are continuing to meet as a regional group. We're continuing to meet with Dr. Lane, our state superintendent. And certainly we eagerly look forward to each new press conference. But we, of course, today we had additional vaccine clinics in our schools. Joyce and our nurses, among other staff members, were, and she shared during our staff meeting this morning, she was very pleased that at that time we'd had a number of students that come out to be vaccinated. And so all of these steps that we're taking and working on, and I think puts us in a position to where we can get back to what we sort of consider normal. But any news, any changes in the executive order or CDC guidance, we will certainly share that with you as soon as we receive it. But again, fingers crossed, we want to return in a normal fashion this fall, and we'll keep you apprised as we move through this summer.
Thank you, sir. Let's move down to 10.6, K-12 virtual schools.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, one of the things that we shared with you during our very early discussions regarding partnering with any of these virtual providers is that we wanted to take care of the needs of our students. We did not want to consider enrolling students from any other districts from across the state because we didn't want to be responsible for test scores, graduation rates, or any other, a number of factors. We wanted to be responsible for the children of Wise County. And we got a call, I guess a little over a week ago from K-12 asking what is your biggest concerns surrounding enrolling students from other divisions? And of course, we shared with them, we want to be responsible for our students and not someone else's. And we were also concerned about if we enrolled high school students, what would happen if we added high school students and it changed our classification? We moved from Division I and II to maybe Division II and III. And certainly we didn't want any of that to occur in our school division. But K-12 called to say if we wanted to consider enrolling some students, we could enroll only K through 2 students, which would not affect our test scores, our accreditation, certainly not impact our high school enrollments, our classifications, graduation rates. And so we at least listened to them. The way they arrive at how many slots a division would have, they look across the state at LCI and other demographic information, and they arrive at this number of additional students that you could possibly bring on board in a virtual platform. Some school divisions, for instance, because of their the formula, their demographics, their LCI, really can't bring on any. Some up to 1,000, 1,100 additional students that they could bring on board simply because, again, because of their LCI and demographics. We would not, if we chose to enroll students from, and to give you just a brief overview of how, for instance, Richmond City Schools at one time had enrolled thousands of students from other divisions. And that was taken from them, the ability to do that, and by the VDOE. And the VDOE has simply said, Richmond City, you need to get your own house in order before you take on other students. Whether it's in name only or whatever the case may be, you simply need to take care of your own backyard. And so now these organizations such as K-12 have these students that were housed in Richmond City Schools virtually that now have no landing place. And so they're looking for divisions that would be willing to take these students on. And there are various reasons that providers such as K-12 ask divisions to take on additional students. Sometimes these students are from divisions that don't offer a virtual option. It doesn't exist there. Sometimes it's students prefer one provider over another, and their division doesn't offer that provider. Students may have started with a particular provider such as K-12, and their home division switched providers at some point. We would receive funding for each of the students that we would enroll, but it certainly wouldn't be full ADM. It would just be a small fraction. For us, what they shared with us is if we have 300 slots, and we chose to enroll them. Now, by enrolling them, we would have no role in their education. We would provide no services. We would not keep up with their attendance. That would all be on K-12 shoulders. Have nothing to do with our teachers, nothing to do with our administrators, central office staff. It would be enrolled in name only because providers such as K-12, they can't simply enroll students who want a virtual education. They have to be attached to a school division in order for them to take them on as a student in their academy. And so for us to enroll 300 non-district students in a virtual platform, we would get a check for about $112,000 in October. And of course, with these students being K through 2 students, if we assign them to our various primary and combined schools that are Title I schools, we would get some federal dollars for those students because those buildings that are Title I buildings receive additional funding for each student in their building. We had never considered this before, and certainly we're fine if we want to continue not to consider it. But I've called several divisions and talked with them about why or why not, why they're on board, why they're not on board. And most of what I've found out is K-12 has not offered to only enroll K through 2 students in most divisions. In most situations, if you have offered to allow them to enroll students, it's K through 12. And so you may get, a few kindergarten, some first, second, third, 11th, 12th. And so, but last year, Radford had about 1,100 students enrolled. This year, Bland and Tazewell. I talked to, and some districts do not have the ability because of their demographics. Bristol wanted to do it, and they don't have slots available because of the formula would not allow them. Norton, same situation. So again, I wanted to provide the information to you and share with you that we've discussed it, and we don't see any real holes in it. But again, we're certainly fine if regardless of what we choose to do. But I did want to share with you that it's available, and if we choose to take advantage of it, we have the opportunity to do so. But that kind of money, certainly all resources that we can pull together, the more we have, the better able we'll provide services. But that amount of money would not, in most years, mean the difference in being over the hump or not for us. But it is some additional funding that we currently don't have. So I know some of that probably is a little bit hard to grab onto, but I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you may have about that possibility.
Will this agreement be open-ended or just for 1 year at a time?
We could choose to be with them and end it at the end of that first year. And one of the questions, I was talking to Dr. Short there toward the end of the day today, one of the questions, and I've thought through and reached out to a lot of people. One of the questions I had is, if we take on these kids in a virtual environment, and what happens, ADM, well, by taking on those students, we would not get the additional ADM in the fall. We would not get ADM for them. We would get no state dollars for them. And so therefore, in March, if our account was up or down, it wouldn't impact us either way because we didn't receive the funding for them at the beginning. And so, each year when that March 31 child count comes out, if we've lost a lot of kids, then certainly we lose funding. But in this situation, we didn't get any state dollars from them to begin with, so that would have no impact. But I felt like it was important just that I share the possibility with you. And again, we see some positives in it, but we're certainly not going to, either way will be fine with us. But I did want to share the opportunity was available to us.
Dr. Mullins, how would that affect a student coming in our virtual learning, extracurricular activities for them?
If in their district where they live, and of course, we're talking about students outside of Region 7. I mean, it could be from Northern Virginia, Eastern Shore, whatever their districts decide to do with them there, that's strictly up to their place of residence. They would have there would be no opportunity for them to participate in any of our activities in any way. Educationally or athletically or artistically, they just would not be allowed to participate in anything we do.
What if some of them are special education students? How would that?
If K-12 enrolls them, then it's K-12's responsibility to provide educational services, whatever that means for that individual child. We would have, in terms of our involvement, we would have no role in their education. That would be between them, their families, their place of residence, and K-12.
So we would have no federal responsibility for any special education need?
No, ma'am.
So this is no burden on any of our staff.
We have discussed it at length, and we cannot find, and I asked the question to superintendents today. I said, please tell me what you consider to be the downside. And for all of them, having to enroll K through 12 students was a real barrier because of the impact potentially to their high schools, graduation rates, and many of those grade levels have to be tested, K-12, but K-2, and I think it probably for several of them that I spoke with, it was kind of surprising that we'd been offered just the opportunity to enroll K through 2 students, with no responsibilities testing-wise or certainly not high school students.
So this just provides those students who want to go virtual an official home district designation in order for them to participate within the K-12 guidelines, right? Is that?
Well, is there a reason why it's only K-12 and not some of those other?
I think that perhaps some of the others would like to get any school division on board. For many of them, they already have the slots that they need. I think K-12 in particular when Richmond City cut them loose, or was told to cut them loose, there became a large number of students that they were going to have to attach to a school division. I think the others, from what I understand, are fairly comfortable with the amount of slots that they currently have.
How does our new director of our Region 7 Virtual
Well-
Academy feel about it?
Right. Well, I actually talked with her today, and that's the question I asked her. I said, Caitlin, I understand taking on any students of any age. I understand that there's definitely pitfalls to that. I said, but we have an opportunity just to do K2, you know, what's your thoughts? And she said, well, that certainly changes my viewpoint of any school division doing that. If they're not going to be tested and they're not going to be in high school, she said, you know, I really can't share with you what I feel the downside is. But now it's you know, where we have just created this academy, you know, it's something new for all of us. And so, again, I want to make sure that we take care of our own. But if there's a possibility that we could perhaps, you know, increase our resources a small amount and not really be out anything, not have to provide any services, I just thought that I needed to share that with you.
To me, it's not just the money. I'm thinking about those kids. We know nothing about any of them.
Yeah.
And the kids that we may be given, and we have certain standards here.
Sure.
And those kids may come into us at a very, very different level than what our K2 kids
Right.
have been working at. So they may have a lot of remediation.
Mhm. And of course, it's K-12's responsibility to get
So
them.
they will have to get them up to where they are, and that's nothing on us.
No, our teachers will not be involved with these students at all. None of our employees will, other than just you know, enrolling them, giving them our name to use as the enrolling district. But outside of that, we would have no interaction with.
I mean, and this also goes with what she was saying about attendance and all.
Yes, they would, and of course, K-12 would be working with them, and whatever standards that K-12 have for those students, they would have to adhere to them, or K-12 would intervene, but it wouldn't be up to us to intervene.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's not gonna be doing home visits out in the beach.
Right.
So there's no way that Wise County gets a black eye based on the student's performance.
Right.
Okay.
No, they're not assigned to us.
Okay.
From our scores, our accreditation, graduation rates, none of the above.
I think we just can't help but wonder why in the world somebody give us money for no reason.
Well, you know what, Dr. Raymond, and I'm glad that you asked that
What kids are
question.
gonna give us.
Right.
And let's just be honest. Edgenuity, K-12, Virtual Virginia, well, not so much Virtual Virginia, those two, it is a for-profit organizations. I mean, Edgenuity, they have went above and beyond to anything we've asked of them as far as instructional program. We've met with them as a group, we've met with them just our special ed department, and anything we've told them we need, they've been willing to provide it. But at the end of the day, K-12 and Edgenuity, it's a for-profit organizations. And by enrolling these students, they get the ADM, the state dollars for each one of them. So they're gonna make a pile of money. And the only way they make that money is if these students are assigned to a school district in the state of Virginia, which therefore enables them to enroll them, get those dollars, pay us a small percentage just to allow us to enroll in our county, and they keep the rest of the funding. So I think they've got good programs. I think that those that utilize them this year are going to be well served. But at the end of the day, there's no mistaking. It's about profit.
Other
Well,
questions?
It's basically private school online.
It is. The only thing that
They're
keeps it,
paying, and the state's paying for it.
the only thing that keeps it just from being a total private school setting is the fact that they're enrolled in some school division in Virginia.
They get the state money.
Yes.
And the only downside that I see for us would be affecting our numbers. Because if they enroll in, would they be designated to a certain school?
If we were going to do this, the best scenario for us with K through 2 students would be to assign, let's say if we use 300 slots, our 5 Title I schools, say 60 at each of those schools. And of course, at those schools, we get additional dollars for those students enrolled in a Title I school. And so at each of those schools, we would get funding federal funding associated with 60 additional students.
Bill, what you were saying a minute ago is that it's not going to affect our Virginia High School League members.
Right.
That's which is the main thing.
It would have to be high school students
Yeah.
that would assign to our
So we
high
still be in the same classification.
Right.
That's what I think he's concerned about.
Yes, yeah, it wouldn't affect our classification at all.
So there's not many downsides to it, are there?
Well, we've investigated it and talked about it and discussed it, and we haven't been able to find them. And again, it's not a large sum of money, but it's money that we don't currently have.
But if we don't like it, we can drop out of it. I mean,
Right, I mean, it's a 1-year deal, and
1 year deal,
We
through
could
the year.
try it.
And it wouldn't affect any SOQ standards.
no. No, sir.
This is new. Other questions from anybody? Okay, hearing none, let's continue on to 10.7, federal program applications. This is on page 48, and we have some handouts, I believe.
Yes, and of course, Mr. Chair, members of the board, this is the federal programs application that we've completed each year. And of course, we'll be asking for your approval of these applications under action later on. But this is what we do each year.
So it's the same format, same information as we've had in the past. Questions? 10.8, Superintendent's Authority for provisionally hiring personnel.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, of course, as you guys are aware, each year during that time span between our July meeting and then our meeting the second week in August, almost invariably, we'll have someone that retires or someone that husband or wife gets a job somewhere else, and we have a handful of individuals that we need to hire to begin school. But it occurs after the July meeting and before we can reconvene in August. And what you've allowed me to do the last couple of years is to tell individuals that we've interviewed, we're provisionally going to bring you on board, but nothing's official until our board meets. But it gives us the ability to fill those positions provisionally, and then officially hire them when we meet in August. It doesn't put us in a situation where we simply can't bring anybody on and have to wait till, and begin school before we're actually able to hire someone.
Or have a special meeting to get them in there. Gotcha.
And certainly you would officially vote on any of these at our August meeting.
Any questions?
We've done that in the past, though, haven't we?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
we
What
have.
we've done every year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go on to action items. We'll do employment after closed session. 11.2, VRS resolution, on page 47, which we've already discussed. Is there a motion to accept or to approve the VRS resolution as presented?
So moved.
Okay, and is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the VRS resolution as presented. Those in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. 11.3, K-12 enrollment out-of-district students contract, what we just discussed a few minutes ago. Is there a motion to, what is this? Not approve, it's enter into a contract, or what is this, Dr. Mullins? How should the motion?
Yes, a one-year contract with K-12.
Okay, so is there a motion to enter into a one-year contract with, on the K-12 enrollment of out-of-district students?
So moved.
Okay, John, is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Let's go to 11.4, 2021 budget amendment, which Beth went over with us a while ago. Is there a motion to approve the amendment?
So moved.
Is that, okay, Martha. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of approving the budget amendment, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. 11.5, the federal program applications, which we discussed a few moments ago. Is there a motion to approve the federal program applications as presented?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
And it was Martha. Those in favor of approving the federal program applications, let it be known by aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. And the motion carries. Information? No oh,
Mr. Chair, members of the board, just very briefly, on the point that Ms. Kern brought up about the potential inconsistency between the resolution we passed, I actually pulled up, that same resolution has been passed by two counties that I can find on the internet, Westmoreland and Stafford County. Stafford County did what we did, which was basically accept verbatim what had been sent to us by VRS, which is what we normally should do. But I do note that Westmoreland County actually reconciled the top whereas that Ms. Kern pointed out as $1 per year as opposed to per month. So you passed a motion approving a resolution, and I think that from everything I can tell, the actual resolution you passed as to what we were to do is clear. It is the introductory whereas clause that may have a typographical error. So with the consent of the board, we would ask permission to clean up that typographical error so that when we actually sign off on the resolution, it will have consistency between the whereas provision and the resolved provision so that there'll be internal consistency.
Thank you.
I think that's a great idea.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Any more information? Items pass along to us? Okay. Mr. Bates, you wouldn't happen to have a motion to go into closed session, would
I
you?
think so, somewhere in here. Pursuant to 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following specific matters. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining or resignation of specific public officers, appointees or employees of the school board, which is authorized by 2.2-371 Code of Virginia. Consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the school board, and consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the school board regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel, which is authorized by 2.2-3711 the Code of Virginia.
Well said, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor of going into closed session, let it be known by aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion to re-enter open session.
So moved. Oh, wait there.
I was just looking to see who that was over there. That's John. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Durham, would you please read us in?
Whereas the Wise County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.23712 Section D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wise County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened was heard, discussed, or considered. Please vote. Ms. Williams? Yes. Ms. Jett?
Yes.
Mr. Short?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yeah.
Ms. Kern?
Yes.
Dr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mr. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations for employment?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of approving the superintendent's recommendations for employment, please be let it known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay. So the motion carries. The school board has been discussing our division superintendent's contract for the last 3 months or so. We have asked our school board attorney to draft a new contract, which we have reviewed tonight in closed session, and we've been discussing it. I understand that by law, we can only have one employment contract with our division superintendent. So, with the concurrence of our division superintendent, I hereby move that we terminate the prior employment agreement with our division superintendent dated August 1st, 2018, and offer him a new employment agreement effective July the 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2025, in the form that we have reviewed tonight. And we discussed it same in our closed session. That's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Who was that?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. I'll put down Philip. I'll put as 800 feet per second. You always got to me first. Okay.
No problem.
Okay. And those in favor of terminating the superintendent's present contract and offering him the new contract, please let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Congratulations, Dr. Mullins. You've been offered another contract.
Well, thank you. I'm very
And-
appreciative.
Well earned. And we have one more item of business to deal with tonight. I want to make a motion that we acquire the property that was discussed in the Coburn Primary School area, and that you authorize this chair to sign any necessary documents to move the transaction forward. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor of moving forward with the transaction and authorizing the chair to sign the documents necessary, please let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Any new items? I don't know where I started last time. Board comments. Ms. Vicki?
We're very fortunate that our forensics and first act teams are so talented. I told my former student, Shane Burke, in the 7 years that you've been with the school system, the one factor is you, and that you were the director. And, of course, Jan Thompson also. Doesn't matter which year, they're acting as the coach or director. Still come through every year. And I'm so glad we have more, better financial situation this year. I'll be glad we do.
Thank you, ma'am. Martha?
I just want to congratulate Eastside and Central High Schools for continuing their dynasties in forensics and first act plays, one act plays, and real proud of them. They always make us proud. And somebody had said something about, I think it was Shane, said something about from Roanoke on down, they kind of don't know we exist, but I think they do now.
We're getting their attention. Thank you. Herb?
Well, I'd also like to congratulate Eastside and Central High School on their one-night plays. And like my colleagues have already said, they do an excellent job with them each and every year. And I'd also like to congratulate Eastside on winning the Wells Fargo Cup for the first time. That is a big honor in the state of Virginia in education, and also to Central for winning it again.
Thank you, sir. John?
Also, Eastside and Central one-act play, it happens quite a bit, seems like now. And I think I heard right, BHSL Wells Fargo winners, that's one in each division. And seems like Wise County Schools won 2 divisions. So that's pretty good for Wise County Schools also. We've got a lot to be proud of, guys. Every time we're up here, we're congratulating state champion in something, whether it be cheerleading, one-act play, forensics, whatever. We've got a pretty good school division. And I think we can all pat ourselves on the back, and Dr. Mullins and his people. It's an awful good school system that we work for. We're awful lucky.
Denise?
Yes, I also would like to congratulate all of these one-act play winners. It is year after year, and we expect it. And now you're right. I think the people up in the other end of the state are starting to find out where we are, and we're proud of that. And for us to get 2 of the Wells Fargo Cups in both the divisions, we're just so lucky that we have both divisions here in Wise County that we can take home. If we had more divisions, we'll take home all of them. I was really, really happy that Caitlin, is it Casme? Came by tonight and talked about the regional virtual academy. I think that is something that we all need to make sure that our communities understand a little bit more about, that is an important thing for the parents who have decided to go ahead and do that with their kids this next year. I've heard from a couple of parents already, and one parent and specifically who said that last year he paid for his child to be in a different virtual environment, and was so happy to be able to do that with his children this coming year. That his children were only in virtual school because of health problems, and that they were still not happy with them coming back to school until they were able to get the vaccines, until the kids were old enough to get the vaccines. And so they were very, very pleased to be able to get that. So I think that was a really good thing to get that information out. I do have a quote tonight, and I want to follow this quote up by giving a little bit of information as to why I chose it. I went back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt's first inaugural speech when he said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." And at the very beginning of this COVID, when we were not sure what to do, or, could we open up or couldn't we open up? And I can tell you, I was one of those people that were probably fear itself. And it was a very hard thing for me to go ahead and vote that night to go ahead and open up some. And I know that there were a lot of students here from East Side, and they actually cheered when I went ahead and voted for it. And I'm glad that they understood that it was a hard decision. But yes, we do fear itself sometimes, and sometimes right now we're in that same position. Yeah, we're still wearing masks right now when a lot of the world's already thrown the masks away, but yet a lot of people are still coming down with COVID. A lot of people are still dying with COVID, and we need to remember that, because until we can get enough people taking the vaccine and enough people healthy enough to be able to say we can get back to our used to be normal, then we have to go ahead and follow the precautions, just like we did a long time ago when I was a very young child and polio was going rampant, and we were just starting with the polio. That it wasn't vaccines then, it was the little sugar drops. Fear itself will not get us anywhere, but Wise County Schools, look what we've done. We've done one-act plays that have won the state championships in a situation where sometimes they couldn't even practice together because they couldn't have that many kids together in one place. And they had to videotape it, and not even without, a live audience. And that is amazing. So if our kids can show us not to be afraid, then we adults need to be able to stand up and say, okay, well, we'll step out there and we'll try a few things too. And so that's why I chose that one. I think Wise County Schools has done an amazing job this year. And we have stuck our foot out, and we have stepped in places where we didn't know if it was going to work or not. And we've succeeded. And I applaud Wise County Schools. And Dr. Mullins, you have really, really led us to a good place. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mark?
Well, everybody's pretty much said what I was gonna say, as usual, so hopefully Greg will sign that new contract, and we'll get him back. But anyway, that's all. I don't have anything tonight.
Thank you. If you remind me next time, I'll start on this side first.
Oh, it's okay.
That way,
That's good. We'll
you get a
start with
second one to speak. Philip?
Well, I feel about like Mark. It's hard to add anything to this. It's all good comments. Let me just make one distinction here, is that it shows what quality students we have, but it also shows what quality teachers we have leading those students. Because those teachers are taking different students every year and winning those things. So I think we're blessed there.
Yes, sir. Every time, everybody's already said what I want to say, no matter which side I start with. But as the others did, I want to congratulate our one-act play award winners and championship winners. It seems like they had some very adverse circumstances, but they were able to adapt and overcome any challenges that were placed in their path, and not by their choosing either. And I always consider it a pleasure to acknowledge their accomplishments in here. Sometimes it gets a little lengthy, but still, these kids worked hard all year long. I can sit still another 5 minutes to honor them. I surely can. And I'm glad that Caitlin was here tonight. I never met her, and she seemed like she's going to be capable of doing a great job, and I thank her for being here. And I want to thank Mark for agreeing to serve as our on the board as our representative. And so I think it's going to be a good experience for everybody involved. And our next meeting in July will be on July the 13th. And having completed our agenda, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Be careful going home.